Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Pass the Tots. I am Mike Craig, the host of the podcast. Today, I am incredibly excited. We have Nicole Nimmons, the Associate Vice President for Campus Services at the one and only Boise State University. Nicole, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show, on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Boise State at this time of year, I mean, it's got to be the most lovely place in the world. Am I wrong?
I think it's lovely. We've got the river flowing. Great time to float the river. It's green and beautiful. It's a little hot, a little hotter than we like right now, but it's just a great place to be. I like to say it's pretty easy to live here, and pretty clean place. So it's great to be on campus. That's for sure.
That's awesome. And Boise State, just an incredible institution. Campus Services. Now, when we first met, I was just like totally run over with just how awesome and innovative you are. Could you maybe just give us an introduction to your role inside the university and with Campus Services?
Sure, happy to do that. So I oversee dining services, also the student union, and that includes like credentialing, the info desk, just all the fun you have within a student union. Event services, we have a conference services, somewhat building in the student union, but we've definitely outgrown that with events. I also oversee events for the university, not necessarily the big venues, but do coordinate with all those folks. And did I say the Bronco Shop, which is our college bookstore?
The one and only Bronco Shop.
Else. Yeah. We have all the Bronco gear. Yes, that is for sure. I made it look like it's Disneyland. It's like a Disney store for Bronco gear.
Yeah. And I mean, to those in the know, Boise State has kind of been on a meteoric rise as an institution over the past probably decade or two. And you've kind of been there from the get-go. What has it been like to see the institution take such a preeminent place, in the world of academia and across the western part of the country?
Well, when I first started, it was like, now where is Idaho? And confused with Iowa. And then, after the Fiesta Bowl, I think everybody's like, oh, the blue football fields. And, since from there, it really was a commuter institution. Overall median age was in your 20s. It was very much a family come back to school, maybe get your master's or degree. And now, we have just so many younger students, and I mean regular college kids age. But that's a big change.
Yeah.
With that also, we have so much recruitment that comes from out of state. We really try to recruit within state, of course, but with our low crime rate and it's clean, the city's fun, low institutional, to come here, our pricing's pretty good. So, so it's very different overall from, 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Right. And as it grows, I mean, I think one of the things that stands out is just your ability to innovate. And listening to you, in previous conversations, talk about some of the innovations, I'm just blown away. So, for this first part of the conversation, I'd just love to get your perspective on innovation and how you approach it, how you look at it, and any ideas and examples that you could share with the broader audience. We'd love to hear what you do.
Okay. Well, with, innovation is truly all about change, right?
Yeah.
It's a pivot when something doesn't work. It's being creative and problem solving. It is just allowing people to share the space with ideas. I think that's the biggest thing is, I will tell my staff when we have like how we're going to problem solve, whatever it might come up. And my big thing is no idea is a bad idea. And you can build off of ideas, right?
Right.
And so in regards to problem solving, overall, I want to hear any idea. And when somebody has a great idea on problem solving, it may be a pain point, I allow them to own it. Even if it's not necessarily like their entry level staff member, and it might be like hanging drape, as simple as that. And, an innovative way, instead of getting on a ladder and, how you hang the drape and all of these things. And, and it was like this, like a painting reachable tool, like how you extend painting, when you
Yeah.
do real high ceilings.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that. I'm like, that is an inexpensive idea. Great. Go to Home Depot, go buy, a paint roller extender, go see if it works. I mean, it's something as that where it's like, wow, that just saved a ton of time and labor. And it was just, an entry-level employee said there's got to be a better way to do this.
Well, it sounds like,
Easy.
yeah, with innovation, I think one of the things that makes you great is what you said, is just your openness to ideas, no matter where they come from, but you're willing to kind of take on any idea and kind of weigh it and then, pass the innovation and the opportunity to the person who brought it along.
Yeah. I also do, with our staff, and it's really with a lot of student staff. Once I get into it, it's a semester, and we're doing budget. I always ask them, if you had $10,000 to improve the work environment, improve, how we process, if it's events, if it's methods of cleaning, if it's, anything, what's a $10,000 idea for you? And we get some really creative ideas. One I didn't do was an aquarium. Just not the right, but it's a great opportunity also to teach people in regards to, aquarium, that's great. How many people are really going to enjoy that? And by the way, who do we have to hire to clean that? Like, what is the impact on that?
That's
And it's
awesome.
like, oh, okay. I get it a little bit more, but I think those are, where I really like to go and explore is if you had 10,000 to, provide a better community opportunity, whatever that looks like, what would you do? And the ideas are just really fun and satisfying.
I'm totally stealing that idea. I think that's brilliant. So essentially, you go in a meeting or with the individual, it's the $10,000 question. If you had an extra $10,000, what would you do to improve, your role, job, or the responsibility that you're overseeing here? And, I bet you get some really creative answers from, all over the gamut, but there's probably some really good ones that come forth. And then from your perspective, I'm guessing you can kind of help manage, and allocate what gets to move forward and what gets innovated on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I really like to empower all of our supervisors, managers. They, I have them own their own budgets too.
Cool.
And so they really have to take a good look at that. And so, I do want them to be able to be more innovative in regards to their spend on money. Right.
Yeah.
So it really goes down to the lowest level in regards to managers and supervisors. I think the other thing is the problem solving. If something gets to my desk to problem solve, this is bad. I always think about like the hourly pay, benefits, everything that everybody else gets. But if I have to get that call or whatever it is to problem solve, how much does that solution cost just by time versus giving the employee the power to solve it? If it's, if it's waiving something on that they're billed for an event, if it's, I don't know, giving somebody a t-shirt, whatever it is, to problem solve at a different level. And that's not probably being innovative, but what it is just saying, hey, let's really look at the cost and time. And all of you have the power to really influence your work environment and the customer impact.
That's so good, Nicole. So it sounds just from listening to you talk that you really embrace innovation by empowering everyone, top to bottom, students, everyone inside inside your purview to problem solve and, own budgets and to come up with the ideas. And, you're very open to what they bring forward and you kind of support them. And from that, like that creates a culture where people want to bring their best self and bring their best ideas. And there's probably some really great things that are happening as a result of that. That's a great leadership perspective.
I would imagine there's a lot of things that are happening that I don't even know about because I don't need to know about it all. Like my big thing is I hire experts that are passionate about supporting the culture, good people, all of those things. So, I didn't know, it was before COVID, but we don't want to say that C word, but they have like an island inspired like event, and it was like to thank the student staff, and our event staff put it on. And they took like $200 out of the budget, and they like did this whole theme thing, and it was really like they threw themselves a party in the coolest way. And I came by the next day and I was like, what are all these lays for? And they're like, oh, last night, they went to the dollar store and they had like their, like just all the stuff. And it was just like, I'm so glad that, you guys did this and I didn't even know about it. And then the next day they're all talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's so great, that they know that they can go do that and do something for not only themselves, but then extend it to the student staff and really empower them to have fun and be creative.
That's so good. And like innovation, I'm seeing a correlation into like the culture of your teams. And let's just talk for a little bit. I mean, how in the world do you have, I think it's at the student union, staffing levels that are like at par plus 10%. Like it is a place where all the students want to go, not just to hang out, but also to work. And
so that is, we are struggling. I'll give you that. But the Bronco Shop itself, it's kind of designed like the Disney store. It's like everything you could ever want with, our Bronco head logo or our B logo, anything orange and blue, gray, black, white. I mean, those are, we stick to our color themes, right? But, we've got somebody who is just, we hired her when she'd just gotten her degree, very passionate about marketing communications. She has taken the level of social media, and we hire influencers.
Yeah.
And people follow us on, Instagram or whatever, Snapchat, whatever it is she does. She does amazing things, and people can understand that fun that's in those pictures is actually the culture that we have in the Bronco Shop. And so it really draws people in to want to apply and work there. So the number of applications, like we're going to have to turn people away this year, which is, in past years at the, before the semester starts, you're always like, oh, we still need more people. School doesn't start for another 2 weeks. And, their roster is full plus like 10% because we know there's attrition and different things. So that's an amazing culture. Now we want to steal those applicants and move them to food services because
you could
we're
take
growing
those,
that culture,
right.
But it's just, it's a little bit different of a job, like food services versus like, folding clothes.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like,
and it's only that, like I have to say our techs, like we've got the technology and, making sure we hire those students who just love technology and computers and like, they're just like in it. It's just really fun to see, the students that are seeking different degrees, how we can really build a resume.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we do in recruiting is talk about resume builders.
Well, yeah. What do you mean by that? So students, different degrees, they're here on campus, they're working. Do you essentially look at, their major and their career path and look for ways to kind of build on that? Is that what I'm picking up?
That's definitely it. Or teach them how to actually like take the job they're doing and write it in a resume, like in regards to like customer service or social media influencer, or, we've got, like I said, in regards to selling technology, on how they want to like build that platform in regards to there's classes, if you're selling Apple computers, there's some classes there. So you can kind of build up on all of those things to have them. We've got the information desk, and we get like a very diverse group of students there. They have to definitely be extroverts.
Right.
I mean, you can have some introverts, but really like you got to go above and beyond. But it's pretty awesome that, we can see folks that are shining there and ask them, what's your degree? Where do you want to go into? And so even one, they're coming back in 2 weeks. He's, I believe, getting a degree in accounting, and great. let me get you a student position in accounting. Let's build you up in that way. So it really is, what do you want when you graduate here to get on the career path you want to? And let's figure out where those matches are.
I'm definitely picking up, like, as part of the culture and student success and just the innovation, you look at individuals and employees on your team, and you're looking at their whole person. You've got responsibilities and the job that needs to get done, but you're also asking yourself, how can I help this person on their individual unique journey? And that seems to pay dividends as they're able to then, see this is a place for them. They can bring themselves to work and put their best foot forward, and it definitely compounds and builds a strong culture. I think that's really amazing, Nicole.
Thanks. And I think, to add to that, you know, working for a state, you have your job description, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. That's wonderful. But if you really want to keep good people, you need to make sure that you're molding their job to their strengths, right?
Yeah.
So I am not a very detailed person at the end of the day. Can I be? Yes. But I'm very global focused on the domino effect. Like, you make a decision, how the dominoes fall, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've got people that, was an admin, and let her, take on, one kind of software technical thing to solve. Well, now she's our director of systems administration, where she oversees all the software that we have, all the hardware that we have. And it's because it was just like, well, what will make you stay here? What do you want to learn? What's your next step? And we just slowly add those in, and then you just kind of build on that platform. But it really is, go find the strength of your people and keep molding whatever that position is to really fit them. It's okay. You don't have to be in this standard square box, because then you try to fill that standard square box if that person moves on.
Yeah.
Then you just kind of get the same, I don't want to say same robotic, but you also don't get 8 years with that employee. It's like you get the 18 months with the new generation, right?
That's totally right. I could totally see how people working for you are just super excited to work together, to collaborate and work underneath you. That's awesome. Now, here's the hard question though. So you have food services and you have a contracted partner that you work with. So it's
Yes.
another company. It's not necessarily the culture that you get to, drive. They answer to some other bosses as well as to you. And, when you look at like partnerships, those types of partnerships, what do you look for, and, how do you collaborate a good partnership?
Number one, I think, the one thing it is truly driven by is the contract, right? In our past third-party contract, the first line of it was about profit returns to the university. And therefore, that's how the hiring relation, it was really about financial returns.
Mm-hmm.
So I adopted that one. It's like, okay, how do we get back to, I don't know, student success or about the customer? And this new contract, it really allows us to really make sure that we found a partner that understands. It was really about the customer experience. It's about part of Boise State being branded who we are. Boise's kind of known as being very kind here, and we really wanted that to be at the forefront, and really be kind of like whole within Boise State versus like Boise State and then their partner over here. And really, we are one Boise State. We're one dining services team overall. And to make sure that they have what we have for Boise State, what are our strategic goals? And really, one of them that we just made sure that we are including in everything is a thriving community. And so whether that's with students, staff, faculty, fans, but our dining partners right now, they understand that it is about the connection. It's about the experience. And we will work towards that bottom line. And obviously you do want it to be profitable.
Yeah.
But that out of the gate, it really needs to be a flip of dining services so people feel that customer service and warm and welcoming. And it's a culture change because it really is about the experience and it's not about the profits. And so finding the partnership with that, we did find great folks that we did hire. We're partnered with Chartwells from Compass Group. And it was vitally important that the leader really mesh with myself and the team. And his name is Ben Sutherland, and he is just the right fit for Boise State. He understands the kindness. He also understands the level of expectations. And, we get full transparency and honesty with him and then the other VPs. And so at the end of the day, to make sure that we have that right partnership, it is full honesty, full trust, transparency. And it is being able to go on a walk and talk, not just sitting, at a desk and talking back and forth. It really is that you want to kind of hang out with these folks, right?
Yeah. You're going to be working together.
No casting of shadows. Yeah. But like any partnership, there's just give and take. And you just got to know that it's not going to be always developing the partnership, hiring a company. It's not going to be always them giving. It truly is that give and take back and forth.
Right.
And just understanding like contractually or when you're working through a problem, it's still going to be compromise at the end of the day. And one of their leaders actually just said that, well, if we're both a little uncomfortable about this decision or both sides are not as happy as we thought we'd be. But it really shows that we really try to work together on advancing something with the same goals in mind.
Yeah.
And getting a deliverable. And so it's like, no, that's definitely true. And so even though we want all these strong partnerships or relationships, sometimes it does come down to how do we work together within the contractual terms and make it happen.
Well, so what I'm hearing from you is, as you oversee campus services and the student experience, the evolution, the change as you work with partners is to preeminently hold that objective of creating the best student experience possible. And, taking care of the student first and foremost, and then everything that you want, you still got to work through it all. But hopefully if that is the North Star, everything else will kind of fall in place from, good working relationships to the profitability that you're searching for, good transparency in the relationships, but making sure that everyone is kind of zeroed in on delivering that student experience.
Yeah. I mean, when we're all looking at to meet, our quota or, where we need our profits to be, a lot of times people will look at cutting, right? You're going to cut staff, you're going to cut hours, you're going to cut all of those things. And, the way I say is no, if we are delivering the right services within the right hours, we will grow our business. We have to look at like how we deliver our, whatever our product is. And it's not about, at the end of the day, the profitability. You've got to invest to make money.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. So any fun changes that you're looking forward to this fall with regards to food services that you're excited about?
I'm kind of nervous, but very excited. I mean, everybody's struggling with staffing right now. Just the unemployment rate is the lowest. And the city of Boise, we're just struggling. And so we've made a really large investment on technology. So mobile ordering platform, kiosks. We're hoping that we can launch delivery robots. So all the things that we can do to replace where people were, because we don't have the people, we still have plenty of jobs. We're not taking away those jobs. But I think that's the biggest thing. So I'm excited to have the innovation, but I'm also nervous because it's different and it's a launch, right?
Yeah, it's totally
new to the community. Yeah, it's not new to our incoming students. It really isn't new, but it is different for those people that have been on campus.
Sure.
The other thing is we're going cashless.
Cool.
And so that's very different. Just ripping the Band-Aid off. Overall, we'll have a reverse ATM. Never heard about reverse ATMs until now. But basically, you can put cash in to get you a card out. But that in itself, looking at the ROI on that one, it's like, okay, you're right. You don't have to have people counting money. You don't have to have the safe. You don't have to, the pickup of money, the depositing, all of those different things. And so, yeah, very excited about going cashless.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
I mean, it's the wave of the future. I just got back from a trip where I did not take my debit card for the entire trip. And it was amazing. I just like got through with my Apple Pay, and even cashless for what I have grown up knowing is evolving. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So just, it's, hey, people, folks, you've been on campus for a while, and sorry, it's the, hey, this is what we're doing now.
I'm sure it'll be good. The question I have is, you've got some success in culture and staffing in your student union, and that seems to be going really well. When you look at like the success there, the culture with the influences, do you think about like, hey, how do I take what's happening here and maybe help food service, where they're, creating that culture? Is there, do you look at it that way, or?
I do now.
You do now.
Just because I do feel like with the contract we have and just kind of the fresh start, it really is about understanding what they do for their employees and how we can make sure that culture is one and the same. Because we had got different trainings for our folks, and, it kind of still is, it's under Chartwell's, and it's, they've got to do all of their check the boxes things, and ours is a little different, but, they're going through our One Boise State training, a lot of the managers and higher ups, to understand like, what our onboarding process is. Yeah. And then just, really making sure that we work to do a much better job of helping celebrate their employees. So me attending things that they do for their employees to make it our employees. So I think that's, that's one of the big things. But, we've had people that have been here with the former company that have stayed here. And I think that they feel more appreciated, they're listened to. And it really is about, how can we develop you as your skills? And one of the coolest things I tell you was, is just, back in the kitchen. So they have like, somebody that was just doing prep work, and they're just like, let's work on your knife skills. Let's work on, these extra skills. Come taste this. And it was like that person hadn't had that experience before. And being able to provide those experiences about like, well, what do you want to get out of this job, or what do you want out of the next position? Chartwell's is right on board with that with me.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well, as we kind of wrap up, I have to ask you the $10,000 question, but maybe we should bump it to like $100,000. If you had an extra $100,000 roaming and you could apply it to anywhere across your purview, what would you be investing in? What would you be doing?
Ooh, gosh, you just threw that one back at me. Honestly, I think I would take it to our students. The association, ASBSU, is our associated student group. And I truly would ask them, what is the most impactful thing that you want on this campus? What would you like to see? And I do have a feeling that, it really is a lot to do with food insecurity. I have a feeling it would come back as that. And so if it was food insecurity or sustainability, hot topics, it would really be, how do we, invest that money in, but also make sure that you have the maintenance or whatever goes with that project, that it's ongoing, so it can actually be sustainable, like into the future versus a one-time shot. So I think I'd probably do that is ask our students, here's $100K, and let's talk
Let's figure
about
this out.
how do you do an original investment and keep something going. Yeah.
Food insecurity is such an interesting topic, and I'm surprised, but not surprised that you brought it up. When you see it on campus, I think there's, from my generation looking back, it was almost a bragging point of being able to say, when I was on college, I survived on ramen noodles, and, I barely scraped by, right? And that was like that was the talking point to say, I had a successful college career. But it sounds like
Yeah.
that conversation is evolving. What's happening on campus at Boise State to kind of address food insecurity?
Um, well, a ton of things. I mean, so the dean of students has a food pantry, and it has grown substantially over the last few years. And really, that was a push by ASBSU or student organizations to really get those connected that are in need. And our dean of students, with grants and with partnerships,
Yeah.
Albertsons is a grocery store here. I think lots of people know that. But the original grocery store, Joe Albertson, started it here in
Hmm.
Boise. And just a tidbit of a history fact there for y'all. Um, and so really good partnerships with them, and then the local food bank, and then really growing that area. So whatever donations we can do, Chartwells is definitely they're supporting them with a cash donation, and then leftovers and some other things. I will say one of the innovative things, I'll
Yeah.
get back kind of towards that, is we had students that were challenged to help with food insecurity, and we're given some money, and it's for our GIM program, which is gaming, and I'm going to totally screw up the name, so I'm just going to stop there. But basically, they developed an app, and it was called the Bronco Beam. Now it's taken on a new name, Bronco Tour. I think it's going to launch again. But what we worked with them is if you were in the vicinity, you download the app, and if you're in the vicinity of where we had leftover catering, we send out an alert. And if you're within the area where the beam, it would tell you where the free food was. And so students have about 15 minutes, because of holding temperature and safety, to come and get the food. And so we just put out, paper plates and grab it. So we're launching that again. COVID, we had to take that program away, but incredible program that we can send out an alert, and here's available free food. And so
That is awesome.
that's definitely
I would
innovative with
have
it.
been a part of that program. I'd have come running. I'd have
Right?
dropped everything.
Yeah.
Middle of a test, don't
Yeah.
care.
And
There's
so,
free food.
yeah. And because of the holding time with food, we wanted to make sure that it was like you didn't get an alert when you're 15 minutes across campus, because by the time you got here, it would be either all given away, or we'd have to, the holding temp wouldn't be there. So, but we're restarting that program
Yeah.
in the coming weeks,
That's so cool.
and we'll have that available. Yeah. And then some of those things that, that might be left over that are shelf stable, that we, will donate to the food pantry,
Yeah.
and have that.
You align almost everything, contracts, partners, everything kind of fits under that goal. And there's just been some really, really innovative, great things that have come from that. If we're kind of summarizing, what are the one or two takeaways that you wish everybody? Well, let's frame the question this way. What are, the one or two things that you feel like you've experienced and that are successful that you wish, lots of other institutions could pick up on and do? That's a hard one.
That is a hard one. I'm like, I don't, wow, now you stumped me. Well, I'll try to think of an example, but really it is about being able to, like, I like to take on risk. I have leaders that are probably more of the risk aversion, but I really like to take on the risk and take the chance. I'm okay with failure. Failure is learning. I don't want to lose a lot in regards to an investment, but you got to take chances, and you gotta try new things. Overall, and if the impact and what you think is going to happen doesn't come to fruition, stop, don't let it keep going, and then pivot on something else. I think is one of my big things. But I would say don't hold back out of fear, fear of failure, fear of people accepting. Listen, people are really thrilled about change or they don't, right? And people that are just do not move my cheese people, right? Like, you got to figure out to get them on board, right? All of those things. But at the end of the day, you've got to do it to move the path forward, and hopefully people get behind you. That's truly me, is like being that leader. Just, hey, we're just going to go for this. If it doesn't hit the 100% mark that we'd hope to, maybe there's some learning to it. Well, there will be learning at the end of the day. But I think that's, the innovation is just take the chances. Figure out where you wrote the risk level. And my risk level is pretty high. My financial executive is probably like, Nicole, hold back. And I'm like, we'll take the chance. But it also makes it a great place to work where your ideas are going to be validated, and we're probably going to, put some money behind them and make it the most impactful we can.
I mean, your growth path and your ability to learn is accelerated as you kind of embrace that ideology. Nicole Nimmons, Boise State University, thank you so much for being here. To our listeners, hit us up with questions. We've got Nicole's contact information. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any additional questions that we might have missed. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Nicole, it was just a pleasure to jump into Boise State for a few minutes today. Thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to have you come back, after a few semesters and update us on all the great things that are happening at Boise State.
Sure.